This is WWP Weekly Wrestling Podcast. Welcome to the Weekly Wrestling Podcast, proudly a part of the Elite Podcast Network, now available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and wherever you get your podcasts from. And I'm your co-host, Matthew Grant, and in a few moments, I'll be joined by a former 5-time TNA and 2-time other accomplishments. He's known for his work with Homicide as part of the LAX, the Latin American Exchange, and he's Super Mex himself, and that's my man, Hernandez. What's going on, dude?
What's going on, guys?
I just wanted to say thank you very much for the support, first off, and secondly, thank you for the time. I do really appreciate it.
Oh, not a problem, man. I mean, you guys got a good thing going, and, Monday through Wednesday and a little bit of Thursday, I'm just Mr. Dad, so I don't have nothing really going on except, especially with it being this cold for us Houstonians.
Yeah, man.
I'm not leaving the house unless I really, really have to.
I totally understand that one, man. There's so much we can start off with, and I'm going to ask you this first off. Did you get a chance to catch TNA last night on Destination America?
No. I just moved into a new house, and I moved here on New Year's Eve. That was my New Year's Eve party, was actually moving to my new house, so I'm still got boxes and stuff everywhere, so I didn't catch that. Obviously, I watched the Lucha Underground show because a lot of my friends are on there, and I'll be sent to appear there later this month.
I was actually going to talk to you a little bit about that. I saw you did a dark match a little bit a while ago. Talk a little bit about that and talk a little bit about the environment at Lucha Underground, because that's something really special going on right now.
Brother, it is, I was with TNA 8 years, and I've been there a couple of times doing dark match, trying to get my contract worked out and the dates and all the specifics that they want to work around, because I do a lot of commercials now here locally, and I try to wrestle Mexico and Puerto Rico a little bit, so I had to make sure all that fit in there what they're trying to do. But brother, if you haven't seen Lucha Underground yet, you're in for a treat. I mean, it's like you're watching high class lucha in a movie version.
I was going to say, you knew that firsthand, man, doing all that stuff down at AAA in Mexico. I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about that.
But, when people watch lucha, there's nothing worse than watching bad lucha,
I agree.
These guys are phenomenal. I mean, they brought the top of the top young guys from AAA, not even messing around. They have a couple of names like Blue Demon and stuff like that, but they went straight to the jugular, and you're going to get the best high flyers that they have to offer, all in their early 20s.
And that's the best ones right there. You talk about Lucha Underground being a great product, and I brought up AAA as well. I know you've done some work there in the past. Talk a little bit about the Mexican style compared to the American style, and talk a little bit about the environment down there, because I know it's a little bit more hectic than it is up here.
Oh, yeah. It's when you have, the guy in the big beer tub coming down selling beer, and the show starts late, and the match, and there's time between matches, the crowd's going to get a little bit rowdier because, they brought the whole family, and they're going to get drunk and boo and cheer who they want, and sometimes it gets out of hand, and sometimes it gets real out of hand.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I remember one match, the original La Parka in LA Park. I wrestled with him, and he threw one of the good guys, the technicals, out over the barrier into the crowd, and it pissed off the fans. So they were throwing beers at him, and he got lucky, and he caught one of the beers that they threw. And on a suicide mission, he decided to throw that beer back in a 9,000-seat arena.
Wow.
So you already know what happened. He threw a beer back, and all of a sudden that whole side just pelted him, and the whole ring with beer. And he didn't care because he didn't do the finish. I was doing the finish of the match. So it was like about a half inch of beer all over the whole ring. And I slipped and almost tore my whole hamstring.
That's crazy, man.
And I mean, it's just crazy. You know, I remember being hit with, when they sell the beer in those big beer tubs, the drunk guys would buy the ice, which is as big as maybe it's like a cell phone. And then throw it at the Budos.
Oh my goodness, man!
So one time I was talking junk. I was outside the ring. I did my big spot, threw some guys around, came out. I was talking crap to the crowd. I turned around and got hit by a piece of ice about as big as my iPhone.
Jesus Christ! And
my head just swelled up like Tom and Jerry, bro. I mean, the huge.
Wow.
And, but I kept eyes back in my head for the rest of the match, man.
Talk a little bit about that because in Mexico, obviously the fans are more rowdy like you're talking about. Talk a little bit about some other experiences that you've had, even if they're not in Mexico. Talk a little bit about some fan experiences.
In Mexico?
Just in general.
I mean, well, I love wrestling in every country that's not the United States because, you know, you can see different cultures and things like that. I mean, the easy one from Mexico, once you come past the border of Mexico, which is, you know, Texas and Mexico, or California and Mexico, there's the customs thing. And then, you know, if you don't have a passport, you can just, you know, if you're just visiting, you can just use your driver's license or whatever. But once you get like me past an hour and a half past that becomes a Mexican federale checkpoint where there's guns and machine guns waiting for you to check your passports and stuff.
Wow.
And there's there's checkpoints because they're looking for drug dealers. They're looking for people trying to, fugitives trying to come to the country and stuff like that. So if you don't have the proper paperwork, you're going to jail. And I mean, they're just random all over Mexico.
I can only imagine. It sounds like it down there. All right, let's talk. Go ahead, man.
It's rough, brother. I mean, I lived there for all of 2010, from March to December. I lived there, and it was a huge, huge life experience for me, put it that way.
I can definitely imagine. Let's get a little bit into your TNA run now. I know you're known big for the whole LAX thing, but just before that, there was a brief elite guard stable. What was the point of that? Where was that going?
That was basically, if you notice, it was a very stereotypical group. We were supposed to be, the doppelganger version of 3LK.
Okay.
So there was a Hispanic guy, which was me, and Conan was, the other group was Conan, Ron Killings, and Road Dogg. And it was me, Chad Collier, and this Jack guy from Georgia named Onyx. And it basically just, they couldn't think nothing else for us to do, so they just had us be like the ghetto version of them, I guess.
Now, talk a little bit about how you and Homicide came together. Talk a little bit about the relationship between you two. Were you guys LAX before TNA?
No. I mean, the funny thing about that is, I've been trying to make a name for myself on, down here in Texas. There's not a lot of nationwide exposure down here. So unless you're going to Mexico, you have to move. So we used to get in a van and we would drive from Houston, Texas to New York City to do Ring of Honor shows just to get exposure. And myself and the hardcore indie guy, Masada, and a couple other guys. And we'd be on the Ring of Honor shows and Homicide would be on the top. Semi-main, main. We'd be pre-show, maybe first or second match of that.
Yeah.
And, that's the only time I've probably said hello to him maybe 5 or 6 times my whole life before we came to LAX. They had LAX and TNA already with Apollo and Homicide and Conan. Apollo had problems making the flight from Puerto Rico to Orlando, which runs like 8 or 9 flights a day. So you do the math why he couldn't make it. And
Yeah.
They just needed a big Hispanic guy, and they called me. I was in Mexico wrestling on the Indies there as Mr. Texas, and we somehow lucky we just formed and gelled as a good unit, with me being the muscle, Homicide doing the dirty work, and obviously Conan doing all the mic work. It was like catching lightning in a bottle, because it really took off like wildfire as soon as we started having matches.
Yeah, you guys were together for years, man. You touched base on something that I wanted to go to before we get into some more TNA talk, and that's some stuff you did with Ring of Honor. Hot stuff Hernandez, eh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's talk a little about you working in the glory days of Ring of Honor.
It was rough because, you're hungry. You want to make a name for yourself. And, East Coast guys get first, second, third chance looks to make it up in the higher leagues and make more money. And here you're stuck in Houston, Texas, and there's not very much here. And, seeing the cream of the whole nation. Look at them now. I was in the same locker room with Low Key, Brian Danielson, Spanky, London, all those guys. And I was lucky to be on the pre-show.
Yeah.
So, I already did 6 tours in Japan with All Japan, and still lucky to be on the show. So, I remember when I first started going to Ring of Honor, our biggest dream at the time was just to be, have our picture on the Ring of Honor website.
Yeah. Of course, man. That's the glory days, man. And then you returned once in 2008 and as well as in 2011. Talk a little bit about those appearances.
2008, it was rough because we wrestled the Briscoes one night, and I guess, one of the Briscoes got a little bit too tried to test Homicide too much in the beginning, and Homicide ended up, I guess, blading his nose or breaking his nose.
Oh, wow.
And that was 2008. I'm just waiting for the signal, because when you break someone's nose or they start bleeding real bad, I think there's a big problem. Homicide took care of it, so it was fine. 2011 was actually very special for us because, we haven't been LAX for 2 or 3 years by then, and we wrestled Claudio and Chris Hero, and we had a fabulous match. It's like we never missed a step with each other. It's like we're brothers. We wrestled in WrestleCade November, Thanksgiving time, and I haven't wrestled for him in a while, and we're same thing. It's like brothers. We don't have to call anything.
Yeah, I can definitely see where that's coming from, man. And thoughts on the Ring of Honor product? Is it somewhere you'd want to work if you had the opportunity to pop up? No,
I'm good. Much love and respect for everyone who's there, but it's not where I would like to be at. I'm perfectly happy where I'm at with Lucha Underground, and if that does not work out, I'll go back to Mexico full time, because that's where my true calling is for myself.
Fair enough, man. To each their own. Let's get back into TNA. Your work with Homicide. You guys had wars with tag teams such as Team 3D, Triple X, Budokan Mafia, AJ Styles and Tomko, The Rock and Raven Faction, and plenty of others. Let's talk about your run as LAX. And did you enjoy it? Is there any moments that you didn't like? Moments that you did like? Throw them out there, man.
Well, when I was there for 8 years, and I was LAX for the 8 years, and when you're a young, hungry guy first getting on TV, and within months you go from staying on the sidelines, lucky to be on the show, to being the semi and the main, and one of the top draws and one of the top T-shirt sellers, and it was like we were rock stars because we started doing that stuff in the corner by the Spanish announce table in March of 2006.
Yep.
And I think our first match was maybe not until July or August. Maybe July. And we were lucky. We didn't know if we were going to get fired or cut, because they were just flying us in to stay there. We didn't have any matches at all. I guess they got tired of it. They wanted to see what we could do, and they put us against Ron Killings and Sanjay Dutt, and those guys are awesome. And we just rocked the house and just took off like wildfire after that.
Absolutely, man. You got to take part in plenty of the bigger moments in TNA, such as Kurt Angle's being signed, the transitioning from being a TV, or I should say a pay-per-view product, to a 1-hour TV, then a 2-hour TV, the whole NWA TNA situation. Talk a little bit about all those situations and some of the bigger moments in TNA that you got to witness.
Well, I mean, it was a huge moment when, you go from 1 hour to 2 hours. Because, I mean, the way they had like 50, 60 wrestlers on 1 hour TV. So, I mean, you can only, if you were watching the show back then, you really realized, guys were doing 3-minute matches and, segments or like 8-minute matches just to get everyone on the show. And then when it went to 2 hours, it was awesome. But, then they signed more wrestlers and made it even harder. Kurt Angle, can't say nothing bad about that guy at all. I mean, he came, the only one that even comes close to Kurt as far as being in the ring with and trying to help you have good matches was probably the Christian. When Christian came. Because, I mean, most of those guys that come from WWE I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm calling it how I see it. Just want to live off their status and try to be,
That is something I wanted to bring up, so I'm glad you're bringing this up, man.
Those two guys were huge names in WWE, and they came over in TNA, and everyone they worked in the ring with, they worked with. They didn't big league no one. They gave and take. I mean, it was a dream being in the ring with either one of those guys.
That's always great to hear, man. Things like the Feast or Fired or the Wild Card Tag Teams, were those things actually legit? What were the setup behind them?
The Feast or Fired is legit, brother.
Wow.
Feast or Fired means that either you have heat in the office or your contract is coming up and you're not close to resigning.
Wow.
Both. Because, I mean, right off the bat, I mean, I can think of, like, when Chavo's a really good friend of mine, he got the Feast or Fired, and it wasn't a gimmick, because, she didn't see him after that no more.
Yep. That's very true. What about the Wild Card Tag Team?
That's just weird. That's just trying to get something out of, trying to break out the monotony of the same guys being as tag partners and stuff.
Yeah. Just trying to basically just throw guys together for the most part?
Yeah. I mean, just trying to create some excitement out of anything.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about 2009 when LAX broke up. Whose idea was it? Were you guys against it at the time, and what came about of it?
Well, of course we were against it. I mean, it's, if you have any family members, I mean, you tell your brother that you're not going to hang out no more. You're not going to be, you're going to be a heel and you're going to try to do a babyface deal or vice versa. And it obviously wasn't our idea. It was poorly done. That's one of the few drawbacks of TNA that I would say. The first 4 years of my, say 06 to 09 was good, and then from 09 on was what the hell.
Did you feel that had any part to do with Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff signing with the company?
No, that was before they got there.
Okay.
But I mean, it was just basically, I would think is that it was in the works, but I broke my neck, and they had to hold off on it for a little bit, and then once I came back, then all those guys were there, and I guess Eric and those guys had a different vision of who should be on top.
Yep.
And if you're not, the prototypical WWE size, which Homicide is not, they're not going to do anything with you.
Yep. Definitely saw that. Let's talk a little about pairing up with Matt Morgan. Where the heck did that come from?
Oh, that's simple. They wanted to push us both, but didn't know how to do it.
Oh, man. And what did you think of the whole run with Matt Morgan for what it was?
It was, Matt's, me and Matt get along great. Matt's a cool guy. You can't have a 7-foot giant tagging with a guy that picks up guys and throws guys around and expect them, they should be fighting each other, or fighting other people instead of tagging with each other. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, man. And even before they put you with Matt Morgan, it seemed like they had some sort of vision to put you towards the world title. They gave you the world title Feast or Fired case. Were there any plans for you to be the world champion?
In my opinion, no.
Okay.
It's the creative team and Dixie and all those guys. They have, I guess, some people was for it, some people were against it. So rather than rock the boat, I guess I got pushed to the side and put back in the tag. So
yeah, unfortunately, because
you screwed up one of the best tag teams you guys ever had. Whether it's I understand Beer Money was really good. We wrestled Beer Money a million times. We wrestled Machine Guns a million times. That's two of the best right there. But you have a Latino team that has great matches with those guys. So you're going to risk breaking up, that Spanish market that you so desperately need to do that. That doesn't make any sense at all.
And now you look at the tag division they have, and it's kind of like, they could have prevailed from that.
Well, to be honest, I haven't seen the show since the Feast or Fired when Chavo fired.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's I don't know. I guess a fan's opinion is a fan's opinion, but we'll move on and we'll talk a little bit about your team up.
It could be anybody's opinion. But the fact of the matter is, it's not going to change anything. It's whoever's in power wanted at that time this to happen. Yeah. And if it's going to, just like if you work at McDonald's and you work and you mop the floor, and the next day, out of the blue, you want to work fries. You're either going to mop the floor or you're going to get fired,
Yep, exactly. A good way to look at it. And with that said, we'll move on to your team up with Mexican America. Talk a little bit about that. I know you guys were tag champions as well. And was there any plans to do anything bigger with that?
Mexican America was, I have no idea what that was. To me, it was the third-rate version of LAX. From 2011 on, it was just a big nightmare for me there. I spent 9 months away from my family in Mexico in 2010 with the promise of getting a big singles push, and I come back and I'm put back in a third-rate version of LAX, where my best tag partner is Sarita. I'm not being a jerk, but come on, bro. I live in, I'm not trying to brag because, TNA paid me pretty decent, not great, but pretty decent. I live in a nice middle-class neighborhood, and I went to Mexico, lived in the hood, not even, a third world hood with no AC or heat in a room of a house, where there's kidnappings, where there's stabbings, where there's muggings, where there's everything in Mexico City at the time from the drug cartels. Risked that for 9 months because you promised, dangling a carrot that I'm going to get a singles push, and I come back and you put me in, worse than when I left. A lot worse than I left.
Yep. I agree, man.
The guy they put me with, he's a very cool guy. Matt, the Anarchia guy, is just that, he wasn't over his head. He was in OVW for a while, but that doesn't equate to being on, TNA at the time. TNA was, how can you put, a guy who had been in OVW his whole career in the ring with me and Machine Guns?
Not only that, it seems like he did have a similar look to Homicide as well. It seems like that's what they were going for.
Well, they were trying to get, they were trying to go for third-rate LAX look and have him talk like, a bad version of Chavo. And it was just a very bad situation. I was mad the whole time I was there for the whole Mexican American run.
Now, teaming up with Chavo Guerrero, did your stance on TNA change a little bit and talk a little bit about winning the titles at Bound for Glory? I know a lot of people felt that maybe Bad Influence was the team that should have been the champions at that time, but you guys ended up getting the push instead. What are your thoughts on that?
Bad Influence was a great team. I think, and so was Rude and Austin Aries. I just think that, you give, Bad Influence all these cool promos and cool vignettes. You give Austin Aries and Bobby Roode all cool promos and vignettes and their heels. And then you go, hey, Hernandez and Chavo, just go out there and rah-rah babyface like 1985. And you wonder why, all the smart marks hated us.
Yep.
I mean, I remember, it was cool for a little bit. Because we were lucky that we were wrestling like in Arizona and stuff like in the lower states. But once we started going East Coast and once we started going to, I remember being on the UK tour and we got booed out of the building and we were the champs. So it's very hard. It's very hard to make the hot tag or lukewarm tag or whatever tag when the crowd is wanting you to get your ass kicked.
Do you put that on TNA for not giving you guys maybe a little bit of more of an introduction before that show?
No edge. They gave no edge. Just let's make money off the Guerrero name.
Yep,
that's what that was.
It seems like that's all they're about, and I hate to be on the negative side, but that's how I feel.
It's just, you're just stating the fact, that we're just trying to make a name off the Guerrero name. That it wasn't by coincidence that we won the belts in Phoenix, where a lot of the Guerrero families lives at. It wasn't no coincidence at all. It's when Chavo came aboard, it was all about selling Guerrero T-shirts.
Yep.
I haven't had T-shirts since 2009.
Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
They wouldn't even give us a name because they want to make sure it didn't. They could
say the Guerrero name while they were introducing you guys. Yeah. Man, that's terrible. Then you guys lost the titles at Slammiversary, and you guys kind of split up just out of nowhere to go in the Bound for Glory series. Seems like they had some sort of direction. And then they went with AJ Styles, somebody who was not re-signing with the company. Do you feel like that was kind of the wrong move to make?
Business-wise, yes. If you're having problems signing someone, of course you should give it to him.
I agree.
I'm not a hater at all. I mean, I understand that, maybe we should got some things, but there's other guys on the roster that should be getting similar things as well. So, it's trying to please 60 to 70 guys at one time, which is obviously very difficult.
Yeah, I agree. And then your TNA departure came a little bit after that. You participated in the Feast or Fire match for a final time, the same match where Chavo ended up getting his release, and then we didn't see from you for a while until you finally got your release. I think it was in May or June of last year. Talk a little bit about your release from TNA.
Well, my contract was up May of that year, and they just sent me home for 6 months, and that was it. After the Feast or Fire match, legit, brother, they sent me at home, didn't call me, email me, nothing. I did not have no contact from the office from the time that match was the tapings till as of right now, still.
Crazy.
Dude, the only reason why I knew I was still on the Impact roster was I would check the website and see if my picture was still on there. And my checks were coming every month. That's the only how I knew I was still on the show. And then I thought my contract was up on the 14th, and it was actually on the 12th. And it was all over the internet that my contract expired, whatever. And that Monday because I thought it was Wednesday, and I even got the big the unfollow on Twitter from Impact Wrestling.
Wow.
So I mean, I still haven't spoken to anybody from the office. So I mean, I don't know if I'm, if
there's any heat or anything.
I don't. Dude, how can there be any heat by that? The last time you saw me, it was doing the Feast or Fired stuff, and I'm not trying to bring names up for anything, but I mean, you've seen people who did a lot worse than anybody imaginable, and still be on the show. I didn't do anything. I guess this was, very bad business. Two, very
Bush League.
It was extremely, because I mean, I've wrestled with you guys for 8 years, and gave you guys whatever you wanted. Didn't bitch or complain. Did a lot of things for you guys, and you couldn't even tell me bye.
That's crazy.
That's cool, because good luck to them. Things worked out really good for me. I'm doing a lot of commercials, and Lucha Underground thing is going real well, and I'm finally being able to wrestle how I want to without someone telling me how to be Latino.
Yep. I 100% agree with you there, man. If the opportunity came up, would there be any interest to go back to TNA?
Would there be interest if you was in my shoes?
I know my answer.
Be honest.
No, absolutely not.
It's January. My contract expired in May, so 7 months. But I even text Dixie herself personally the next day, say, hey, thank you for the 8 years. Nothing negative, very positive, because I mean, I'm kind of happy, and still no response.
Crazy.
It's basically, they did a smart business decision that they're not going to use me on the show. Just pay me to stay at home and decrease my value to where it's lower than it should be.
Yep. Oh, I 100% agree with you, man. I felt you should have been world champion.
Well, I'm not here. I'm business-wise. They made the right decision by just not, devaluing me for the last 6 months.
Yep.
I know if I don't have, if I don't have something I want to do with somebody and I still have them under contract, you see all these guys like when Chris Hero got let go, bro, he was on wildfire. He was on fire when he came on the Indies.
Yep.
So I guess it was a smart business decision. I'm not mad, I know what I can do. I know what I can bring to a company. And anyone, Lucha Underground was the first person to call. The first day my contract expired and it was all over the internet, the head writer of Lucha Underground called me that very next day.
Wow.
So it just shows you, the lack of business ethic that people have. So it's a shame because there's a lot of people in the TNA office that I do like or did like, and now the respect level just goes down a lot further now.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's get on to some positive notes. At least I hope so. Earlier on in your career, I know you did some WWE work, WWF work actually, all the way back then. You had some matches with Haku and Crash Holly. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I don't know how I got them, but I got them. I had 3 dark matches in my career before I started going to Japan. I had less than 100 matches. I was in less than about 80 matches under me when I got the Crash Holly one. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. If it was in Houston, Texas, 20,000 people there, and Crash Holly was a dream. He just led me through it and made me look like I was somebody. It was awesome. I had no idea. I mean, the psychology. I've never even seen 20,000 people since playing football, but you have pads on. But I mean, 20,000 people and everyone knows who you are and look at you now. It was a big eye opener and humbling experience. And Crash was a dream. I mean, he just pulled me to the side and said, "This is what we're gonna do. Just listen to me." And it was considered with my level of experience, I had a really good match with him.
That was good. I heard good stories about him.
No, it's a shame he passed away, but yeah.
I agree.
And then the Haku match was, we need you to get the cell for 5 minutes. And, you know, and Haku was a cool dude, man, and you know, he knows what the deal was, and it was easy. You know, it's not very hard to sell Haku if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
it was fun.
That I agree. Talk a little bit about the environment back then. That was basically during the prime time of the WWE. Talk a little bit about that and your relationship with the management and the boys.
In WWE?
Yeah.
Oh, I hated it. Because, you know, I got trained by a local guy here in Texas, and apparently he has a lot of heat in the upper office there. So once they found that out, I got ribbed to high hell. And, you know, they'll bring me around to each of the other, you know, like Blackjack, Alonza, all the guys, Patterson, all the guys like that. Hey, kid, tell them who you got trained by. And then I would tell them, and they all would laugh their ass off and then send me away, and then shoot me away to the next guy. So, I mean, that got old really quick. You know, you're young, but make a name for yourself, and all they want to do is tell jokes about who trains you.
And bury you,
know?
basically.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking, you know, if you're burying who trained me, I'm pretty positive you guys are not serious about doing anything with me. So,
yeah,
I decided, please don't comment anymore.
Now, have you had any serious looks since from them?
That's last time ever. You know, first time and last time. I prefer, you know, at the time I was like, because I was going to Japan for All Japan, and I was doing AAA work, so I was more happy doing the international stuff. But it's just not my deal. You know, it's all about microphone and short matches, so that wasn't really my deal at all.
Yep. I 100% see where you're coming from there, man. Let's talk a little bit about those All Japan tours, All Japan, working over there, the environment. It's definitely a different product here from the American wrestling style.
Brother, I went there, you know, when guys weren't doing, when indie guys it was rare to go there. Now, anybody, you know, all these guys email or social media other guys over there and fly themselves there and wrestle for $100 and live in the dojo.
Oh man!
You know, I'm not trying to bury guys, but that's just how it is. I went there. Dr. Death Steve Williams was the head of the Gaijins, you know, who approves who can come over, and there was 8 Gaijin every tour, and only 2 chairs ever changed. So 6 guys were regulars all the time.
Yep.
And me and my partner at the time was a guy from Ohio, Casey Geyer. I don't think he's wrestling anymore. We went there as green as shit guys, wrestling with, you know, Dr. Death, Mike Rotundo, Bart Gunn, who else was there? George Hines, Jungle Jim Steele, you know, those guys, and with Kawada and Tenryu on the other side for the Japanese. And there was, I mean, you can watch all the Japanese tapes you want and this and that, but as soon as you know, all that goes out the window as soon as you have to get in the ring with one of those guys. And it was very, very, very humbling. It was a great experience, but it was very humbling. It didn't get till about 2003 till it took me like 2 years to get comfortable even wrestling over there.
Wow. And then talk a little bit about getting comfortable wrestling over there. Talk a little bit about your memorable moments over there, because All Japan, like you said, a place to be.
Yeah. Well, they changed usually Japan doesn't have gimmicks that much. Now they are now, but I mean back then, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, they weren't having any gimmicks. And I wrestled me and my partner as the Double Iron Sheiks. So of course, we had heat with all the fans right off the bat because we're doing a gimmick. Then I come back 2003, and they want me to be fake Super Kurt Angle. So where I'm like, 290, 300 pounds and dressed like Kurt Angle. But I could wrestle anywhere I wanted to. It was awesome. I mean, one of my favorite wrestlers, he passed away, was Mike Awesome. And I got to tag with him, and we had a great match, and it was awesome. That's probably the highlight of my All Japan experience, was getting a tag with him.
Now, why did they come up with these wacky gimmicks for you?
The announcer, Tiger, is a big jokester and a huge WWE fan. He drives you around and he plays the WWE CD for all the theme musics, and he'll look at you and study your face and your mannerisms and say, hey, you look like this guy, or you look like that guy, and then push you to the office to be that character. And I guess doing something different, but it was wacky, but it was a little bit embarrassing because, the first time I went there was me. First time I went there as Super Kurt Angle was myself. Amazing Red was dressed like Rey Mysterio.
Wow.
And Alan Funk was dressed as Hulk Hogan. Because he does a really good Hulk Hogan impression. And dude, they had us doing publicity shots in downtown Tokyo dressed like that. It was super embarrassing, man.
Oh my God.
But when you're making, I don't care what people say about money. But when you're a guy on the indies, you're making $100 on the indies, and these mugs are paying you $2,500 a week. Hell yeah, I'm gonna walk down the street as Kurt Angle.
Hey man, I don't blame you if they're paying you that type of money.
Because you do like 3 or 4 matches a week. It wasn't until TNA towards the last half of my career was I making like that.
Yeah. You also did some work for Chikara last year, the King of Trios, the Latin American Exchange. Actually, I believe they reunited for that show. Talk a little bit about that.
It was very awkward. Because that audience is a very, very unique audience. I heard about Chikara. I didn't know anything about him. And they had us come out, and we got booed out of the building. And these guys because we wrestled, I guess, a 3-on-3, myself, Chavo, and Homicide versus, I guess there's 3 singles champions. I don't know. They were really young and real good. I know that. And they just cheered anything they did, and it was weird, but it was cool because we got to be the heels, and it was fun. Those guys really can go, and that crowd after the match, showed their respect. But during the match, they were brutal, brother.
Now, talk a little bit about working face and heel. What's your preference, and talk a little bit about it in general.
It all depends. Anyone who doesn't like face is a liar. Who don't like to be cheered?
Yeah.
But if you're given a good baby face to go against, being a heel is awesome. Awesome. And I like being heel because it's cool and it's easy.
I was gonna say someone of your stature, I think, should be a heel at most times.
Yeah, of course. How many times is someone gonna babyface cheer? Mexican, a Jack Mexican all tatted up. Unless he's leading a prison break or something. I don't know.
Very true. Very, very true. You got to wrestle at the House of Glory School as well, as you participated in the House of Glory Tag Team Title Tournament with Homicide, facing Fire and Jigsaw, Tony Nese and Ricky Reyes, and losing to the Young Bucks in the finals. Talk a little bit about being in the ring with the Young Bucks.
Well, I wrestled the Young Bucks when they were TNA. They were really good. They were good then. They're just very quirky young guys with the office, so maybe the office don't understand their personalities or something. those guys should be wrestling in America. I hope they're making good money in New Japan because they deserve it. But I mean, I think the people in the TNA office didn't understand their personality because those guys. I mean, you see them; those guys can go.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I wrestled them I wrestled them a couple times as a singles, and I wrestled them with Homicide, and those guys are awesome. I mean, I can't say anything bad about those guys. I just think that the reason why they're not in America is that whoever's in charge of WWE or TNA does not understand their personality, or or their demeanor, how they act, because they can act. If you don't know them, if you don't, get off your high horse and try to come to the level, they come off like snotty little brats. Yep,
I agree.
But those, I mean, but that's you looking down to them. I mean, if you type in the same level, those guys are cool. They're hilarious. They're fun to be around. So I mean, I just think that once hopefully someone who's smart enough to get it that has pull in TNA or WWE will snatch him up.
Yep, I agree with you 100% there, man. Something I didn't talk to you about when we were bringing up TNA is the video game. Talk a little bit about being in that video game.
That was awesome. I mean, getting the scanned and being in the video game. My son is 7, and he still, when he's mad at me, he'll play it just so he can beat me up. So it's awesome. You get to brag a little bit to your friends. Hey, you want to play Xbox? Let's play this game. And then all of a sudden, there's your face. So I mean, the only thing better than that is having your action figure than being in a video game.
Yeah.
That's when you made it when you get an action figure.
And don't tell your significant other that either. She'll be going to play and beat you up as well when she's mad.
But my kids, they always play. As soon as I tell them to do something they haven't did that we're supposed to do, they want to go play Xbox within the hour just to beat my ass in the game.
That's awesome.
They're good. They're good kids. So it's funny. I find it funny. So cool.
That's awesome, man. That's always cool. How did you come up with the border toss, the name for it, the idea for the move? It's a very unique move. I would personally say I'd never seen anybody do it before you.
Basically, it's just a slightly different version of Mike Awesome's Awesome Bomb.
Okay. I see exactly where that's coming from.
Realistically, any guys who've watched anything from Mike Awesome and watched me wrestle, you can see you can see all the tweaks. I was playing arena football at the time when I watched that the ECW pay-per-view. I think it was November to Remember or something. And he wrestled Masato Tanaka.
Yep.
And I wanted to be a wrestler when I was a kid, and my parents made me go to college and all that. And I was in the arena football league. And I saw that pay-per-view, and that next week I quit and I joined the wrestling school.
Wow.
You just watch them because here's a 6'5", 300-pound dude doing awesome throws and dives and getting hit with chairs, and I had to do it, and so I watched some of the stuff he did, and man, I like that, but I want to make it my own. I don't want people think I'm copying, so I would just experiment with different things. And but if you watch my moveset and watch his moveset, like side by side on DVD, you can obviously know where my style came from.
I can definitely see that. What's in the future for Hernandez in professional wrestling?
Hopefully not too much longer.
What's the timeline looking like?
I hope honestly less than 2 years. I hope. I'm having so much fun. I did 3 local movies here in Texas. I'm trying to branch out. I'm doing I did I don't know if you've seen the last AT&T commercial.
Yep.
Where they end up. I was one of the Dallas Cowboys in that commercial.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get paid almost as much, per day, pretending to be a pro football player, and no one hits me. It's awesome, it just looks the part. It's, basically my dream is to be the bigger version of Danny Trejo, the Mexican guy with the big tattoo on his chest. That's in, he's in Spy Kids. He's in Dust Till Dawn. I want to be him.
You're going forward. You're basically trying to transition into movies and filming.
Yes, that's what I want to do. That's what I've been wanting to do since I was younger. But once you start getting lucky, get the exposure to where, I mean, like I said, I was wrestling in a bingo hall, and All Japan called me. So I'm wrestling in front of 500 people in a bingo hall, then wrestling in front of 3,000, whatever the capacity of Corcoran Hall holds. Getting flown business class, making $1,200 a week, dude. I'm good. Let's do this for as long as we can.
Hey, man, all I want to say is I wish you the best in your future. I hope I get to see you wrestle one more time before you do retire. But if not, I do wish you, again, all the best whenever you do after professional wrestling, because you do deserve it. And hopefully you realize the impact you made on the business, man.
Oh, man. I appreciate it, man, but wrestling is a big cycle, When the next big Hispanic guy comes around doing the same stuff or better than I'm doing, it just be evolution. Nobody cares. It's a big circle. So I
don't know about that, man. I don't know about that.
I'm glad I got the experience, and I'm glad I'm having a blast still doing it. The Lucha Underground, I'm super excited about being on that. I start next week taping that. It's going to be awesome. But I mean, I'm very realistic. There's a lot, there's a lot of Hispanics out there. All of them, there's some bigger and bigger guys coming up. So, I might be, hopefully maybe I could be a founding father of the big guy Latinos from the 2000s. Maybe that'd be good.
Hopefully so, man. Again, all the best, man. If there's anything you want to throw out there plug-wise, talk a little bit about Lucha Underground as well, and throw some social media.
Brother, you guys need to watch Lucha Underground. It's on the El Rey Network, Wednesdays at 8. If you're too cheap to get El Rey Network, you can watch it on Unimas, your local on-demand thing for whatever cable company you got, Saturdays at 4. I only have Twitter, no other social media. Twitter name is SuperMexCTM. If you know what CTM means, you'll get the joke. And that's it.
I don't know what CTM means, so let's reveal the joke.
Well, see, I went to Mexico and for that whole year for 2010, and I came back to TNA and got that crappy Mexican American gimmick.
Oh, okay.
So I got CTM tattooed on my stomach because it's short for Chingo tu madre, which means fuck your mama. So every time I go to hard cam on TNA, I'm pointing to my stomach, and everyone goes, "What does that CTM mean?" And I was telling him, Mr. Anderson told me to tell him it means chuckle to myself.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. Oh, man. That's awesome. Again, man, I want to wish you all the best. I want to thank you again for the time. It was an honor to have you on the show, and we'd love to have you back sometime.
Not a problem, but thanks for having me.